You, over there in the corner. You passed your luck check. It's
the No Class Podcast.
with your gone too long hosts, Eddie.
And Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Hello, Eddie.
Welcome back to the table.
Thank you. It's good to be back with hearing you and Minnie and your hearts and hearts. I definitely got a heart on, so there you go. Do you want to start over?
No, this is it.
Oh, my.
We like to bring the excitement right at the top of the show.
Heck yeah. We're all hopped up on H2O, dihydrogen oxide.
And cowboy chickens.
That's right. Yep, we had some cowboy chicken. Sadly, our good friends at Sunbird have moved a bit far afield. Not that far, but, they're over in White Oak.
And we had the Country Tavern yesterday.
Yeah, we did. And it was delicious, the brisket. But the ribs were dry. Never seen them like. Normally you just wiggle and they fall off the bone and they're juicy and delicious, but these were a bit dry.
You'd have to go eat those in the rain, something.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, they're proud of theirs, but normally I'm like, well, they have every right to be. Yesterday, not so much.
It wasn't a shining moment.
No, and I didn't like the slaw. Like, mental note, don't get the slaw at the Country Tavern.
Or we were talking about how you go to a restaurant for a long time, but eventually it starts to go downhill. You're like, boy, they just had my favorite dish, and I've eaten it for years. And then that one day, it's kind of meh.
One fateful day. Well, look at me. I've never been back to 5D after that one time they saved me a lighter fluid steak, And you might go, everyone's entitled to an off night. Do you know what I paid for these steaks? And everyone tasted like lighter fluids that night.
Do you know what the important thing to remember is, though?
What's that?
People have paid nothing for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have an off night, if it's a little...
This wasn't their best episode. Well... Look what you paid for it.
Yeah. Limping into the barn.
I like that. If you ain't limping, you ain't pimping.
No. There's no breeze, there's no cheese.
Right on.
Which that does remind me of a story. I saved this one. And as many of these podcasts as you get is how much me and Matt are talking to each other. So when you're like, boy, there hasn't been a podcast in forever, it means me and Matt haven't really been hanging out that much. Yeah.
So a lot of times we used to have these conversations and we're like, why don't we record these? We'd finally catch up.
So there may be some travel log into this since you've been traveling, but
Traveling Matt.
This is a story that I've been saving for you.
Oh, shit.
It's perfect for the germaphobe in my life.
Who would that be?
You.
But yeah, I love to share my germs.
That's true. He's squirmish about getting somebody else's cooties, but he's always there to give them to you.
Well, quick side note, I had Heather take a picture at Yellowstone just for your benefit.
I haven't seen it. I don't think.
Yeah, because I don't know if she's posted it yet, but they have this.
Is it private?
No, they have this special, like, faux wood decks that you walk on through the bubbling, steaming area in the Yellowstone where there's all the geysers and what they call the paint pots where it's bubbling up mud or whatever. Well, these are, I think they've put in some special antibacterial material. And so there's a sign on it that says bacterial mat. And I took a picture with the sign for your benefit. I told her to send it to you, but I guess you didn't. Or you didn't get it.
But you're a viral Matt, right?
Well, not right now.
Soon enough.
Soon enough. Just in time for November. Be sure to shake hands with me, everyone. Shake my hand.
So here's the story for you.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was at Dragon's Nest.
Uh-huh.
This does not reflect upon you, Dragon's Nest. So, as one does, I was up there for like 5 hours or something doing a game demo. So at one point in time, I'm like, I got to go take a whiz. I go in the bathroom. Of course, there's somebody in the stall destroying it.
Yeah.
So then you're like, what's the etiquette here? Do I just turn around and walk out because the stench has repulsed me? And then it's when you're wrapping up at the end here, you're coming away from the urinal and they're coming out of the stall. And you're kind of like, well, should I pitter patter around here a little bit because there's to be no eye contact?
Right. And also, do you want to know who's creating that level of stank?
Exactly.
Because it might ruin someone. You're like, I always thought that was great. Oh, you made that stank? It's like, it might ruin your perception for that person. I mean, when you hear all that backfiring explosions and grunting.
Yeah. So if I'm in there stalling, I'm hanging out. I have to creep out like a thief in the night. You're not going to know
Yeah,
it was me in there. And then the other thing, when somebody destroys it and then you come out and somebody comes in and you're like, it wasn't me.
Like,
it wasn't me.
Yeah.
So anyway, we end up, and the guy doesn't do the common courtesy of hanging out in the stall for a minute or whatever. We get to the hand wash station about the same time. And I had given him a little bit more time to move away, to get on. But I get up there, and he's left the water running for me.
How thoughtful.
Good. I won't get those cooties from having to touch it.
knob.
So I put my hand under the water. It's freaking scalding hot.
Oh, wow.
He had it full blast hot. So I don't know if it was one of those things like, well, when I first turned it on, it wasn't that hot.
Yeah.
So resist the urge to scream right there, like yeah, like a cartoon. Oh,
Hot.
And I'm like, okay, my hands are scalding, so that's what's going through my brain.
But it's killing germs.
And I turn to get my towel, dry my hands off. He's holding 2 little paper towels for me.
Hold them out.
The little auto ones.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I'm like, in this situation, what is the appropriate thing to do? Because I know you just destroyed it.
Uh-huh. But you watched him wash his hands.
But you did wash your hands.
Did he sing the whole happy birthday song in his head, like kind of thing?
No.
Yes, it was like a quick kind of hand dip and go.
So do I have to take these? Or do I not take these?
Oh, my goodness.
So that's the take-home question for you listeners today.
We inquiring minds have to know, did you take them?
I guess we'll have to find out in the next part. Cliffhanger.
Dun, dun, dun. Not you in a cliffhanger.
I took them.
I figured as much. You're
I
that
crumble
guy.
under pressure.
Yeah, you weren't going to go against, You don't want to
Spit in this guy's face.
I love you guys. Just like this was, what is it? What's the show you love so much? I'll just stand there awkwardly for 20 minutes. Like, anyway.
Well, if you ever watch The Shield, there's one part where I think, is it Forrest Whitaker, the gentleman with the unusual face?
Yes.
So he's offering people gum. He's a police interrogator, and he'll be like, here, take a piece of gum. I don't want a piece of gum. He's like, if you hold it out long enough, because of the uncomfortableness, even if they don't want it, they'll take it. And that's how you know you have your person that's going to break. That'll give you intel. Because it's like, if I can mentally break you just holding out a piece of gum and get you to go for that, then if I put you under the intense questioning, you'll crack and give me the information I need.
Interesting.
So there you go. I would immediately crack.
Oh, my. Well, it's good to know you're the guy who would crack under pressure.
But Matt is the guy that would not tell you if he got bit by a zombie.
No, gosh, no.
So don't have him in the zombie apocalypse, and don't make me your partner in any crimes.
That sounds about right. Oh, man.
Because somebody's going down.
That's a great story.
You know what else is a great story?
What's that?
The Long Con.
That's a fantastic
We
story.
had a fantastic meeting with the hotel yesterday.
Not to say we weren't already enthused, but definitely we were walking on a cloud when we came out of that meeting. The ladies, well, it's kind of like excitement is infectious, and they seemed more excited than we were about the Long Con and us coming back. And so that was what was awesome, was they were so excited, and it, like I said, it was infectious. But like they were the ones going, why don't we do this? And how about, because I love, me and Eddie, we're total guys. We go in there, we're like, you know what we did last year worked. It worked well. Let's just do that again. And we're thinking this is gonna be a 5-minute meeting. Like, do what you did last year. It was a great deal. Thanks, and that's it. But they're like, well, what about this? Why don't we do this? And then at one point, me and Eddie are going, nah, and they're just ignoring us and turning to each other. And they're going, well, I could put up some bunting, and you could put up, we can get a chocolate fountain, and I'm over here like looking at you like, are we even in this conference? But they were so enthused, and like they were,
They love us, and they love you guys.
They love y'all. They really bragged on, and I love how the last hotel was not fond of us or our con-goers. These guys love y'all, and they said, oh, our staff is fighting over who's going to get to work the event because of generous tipping and just generally pleasant dealing with us.
And we should have 2 dedicated servers the whole time.
Yep.
That can bring you food, drinks, and adult beverages.
Yep. And I'll say this: I doubt those guys are listening, but there were some guys that brought their own stuff in. Please avail yourself of their liquor. If you just adamantly refuse to do that, just be discreet. Put it in a cup or a tumbler or something. But you can't have outside booze. Cannot be out where they can see it. So I'd put that out there real quick.
But if you just absolutely positively have to, as long as you're in one of the boardrooms or something, they don't care. It's just in that ballroom area.
Yeah, if you're in the big ballroom, don't bring out your, what was it, Lone Star beer and put the can on the table or the whole six-pack.
So, if you need to drink adult beverages somewhere, don't do it there. And if you can't follow that rule, keep it hidden.
Yeah.
And they don't even care really about. They have to care.
Yeah.
But wink, wink.
Yeah. They have to say something if you're just blatant with it. But just you show a little bit of discretion, and everyone's going to be happier.
And that's not a money-making tactic on their part.
No.
That is their liquor license.
Liquor license. Well, that's the thing. Like no outside food. Like I remember at the Hilton Garden Inn, they served us some really crappy food. And after that, people were ordering in pizza, and they're like, "Hey, they can't do that." And I said, "Well, technically they can, because you guys let us sign some special waiver. But we had to sign a waiver at Hilton Garden Inn for y'all to be able to do that."
And it's the same at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, they
we
have a
can't
food license.
eat
They have a liquor license. Yeah,
in that ballroom. But if you need a place to eat your McDonald's or pizza or whatever, I'll be happy to point you out the spot to do it.
Yeah, we got places where you can kind of be discreet and off the beaten path, but no outside food. I mean, you got to be discreet with that too. And it's like we said, only because no one's being a hard ass. They have their food license. They have their your liquor license, and also there's like legalities. If you got sick off food you bought from outside, I think somehow they might still, you might try to say you got, I don't know. Like,
and it's the same thing with a liquor license, I think, where it can be like, oh, you overserved that person now because they were basically in your bar. That's counting as their bar sort of thing.
Exactly, yeah. So not to be negative Nellies, but yeah, that was one little issue last year. We had some guys that were having a good time. I have no problem with that. But honestly, I got a question. You know, I'm a drinker and I'm a gamer, but I've never wanted to get totally smashed at a damn.
And I'm not really a drinker anymore.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the appeal of it.
Yeah, I don't understand why you would want to be. It's, I don't know, but whatever. Again, to each their own. As long as you're not belligerent or obnoxious, get smashed. Have a good time.
That's just not my thing. Like, let's put on Dark Side of the Wall and get blitzed or something. It's like, okay, but try and play a game where you got to pay attention.
Yeah, and try to make good decisions or something. Yeah. I tell you, I did when I was very much younger. I got really snockered playing a role-playing game and did some really dumb stuff and got a beloved character I'd played on and off for like a year. I got him killed, and that broke me of that crap. I'm like, never again, And definitely if I'm running games, I'm sure y'all expect it, and I expect a certain level of excellence from my game master. I can't bring it if I'm, drunk off my ass or something. So again, I might tipple in the last 15 minutes of a game slot, running or playing or whatever, but I'm not going to get snockered playing, definitely not running. But again, your mileage may vary. You might I run a better game when I've had a few stiff drinks. Knock yourself out.
I'm sure that does apply to some people.
Yeah, it might be. Well, because it might help.
Can't get any worse.
Relax, I could see someone going, it helps me relax and I'm more loosey-goosey. But anyway, no, Long Con, so many good things. We've got, it's funny. We'd announced one special guest last podcast, and then we thought they weren't coming, and now we're fairly certain they are, but we don't know. We'll see. It's still up in the air. But definitely, we've got a bevy of great special guests, and but hell, and we've even got some of our game masters that aren't necessarily special guests, but to us, we value them 10 times more than these special guests. And you know who you are.
Adrian.
Yeah, I was thinking it. I didn't say it, but yeah, Adrian. And some other ones, we're tickled to have Ben coming back. Apparently, for whatever inexplicable reason, he's popular,
Yeah, I don't get it. But a lot of the local GMs, you have your local popularity where it's like, oh, yeah, Mr. So-and-so can breeze in and not get anybody on their table. But there's... when you've hosted games at the Long Con several times, they're like, yeah, I played in so-and-so's game, and I want to get back in their game this year.
It seems like James Ward came last year, I believe. Maybe he didn't, but I know he bought a ticket this year. Did he put any games?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I'm telling you, if you can get in James Ward's game, get in it. He's a brilliant gamesman. As a player, his play is brilliant. As a guy running a game, his Call of Cthulhu is people have said many good things to me about playing in his games. But anyway, like I said, I could go on and on. We have so many great game masters. And if y'all noticed on the Long Con Facebook page, one of them, we've been showcasing a number of our game masters and mistresses or whatever. Anyway, but excited about Long Con. Good
So,
things.
yeah, the other thing I want to say about the long con is to give yourself a pat on the back because so much of this stuff has filled up early.
Yes.
That was one of our dreams back in the day when it was like, oh, if only we didn't have to crack the whip to get people to sign up. If we didn't have to crack the whip to get people to submit games or get hotel rooms. Hotel rooms, we're doing fabulous.
Yeah.
Game schedule, it's really, really getting full
Fleshed
where I
out.
have to turn people away. Be like,
Yeah.
I wanted to run a game this night. Well, you should have got in earlier.
I doubt anyone will notice, but if you do, traditionally I run a tournament game on Friday nights at Archon and Friday nights at North Texas. This year I had to shift it over to Saturday. It was something outside my control. So for anybody that, like, I keep Friday nights open for your tournament game, it's now going to be midday Saturday. But anyway, just FYI. But these are part of the running a con. But like Eddie said, thank you for, if you ever wanted to do something to thank us, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in, buying tickets early and buying rooms or whatever, that's made our lives that much easier because we're sitting here, what a great position to be in. We're worrying about, well, what kind of cool swag can we give y'all? And we have the money because you bought tickets up front earlier on that we have time to get an order into someplace in China and get it back in time on the slow boat,
Yeah, and we're worried about, are we going to have too many people?
Yeah, what a wonderful problem.
So, yeah, it's really nice. We appreciate it. We appreciate not having to cry
beg and
the last
plead
6
and
months.
pout and sulk or whatever. And I still figure there's going to be some people that are compiling at the end, but we had such great early adopters, and a lot of them, we've said this, if you listen to this podcast since the beginning, we've always a million times said, this con was us to a certain degree putting out the welcome mat for all the great people we'd met at North Texas and hoping that if we put this welcome mat out, eventually they'd, say they come on over. Well, in the last year and this year, we're seeing so many people that we really love gaming with and we love spending time with and sharing a drink and a stupid story or whatever. Those people are beating feet over here. And I'm tickled about that, and I'm sure Eddie is.
Well, it
too.
only takes 7 years to catch on and not be a fluke.
Well, it is.
Because I will say that's one of those things that's like, hey, will you support the con the first year? Nah, I got to see if it catches on. Well, it's not going to catch on unless you support it.
We basically had someone say that about Red River, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy that I'm like, hey, I always wanted a con in Shreveport. Look what I've done. Me and Eddie, we've convinced each other to do a second con in Shreveport. It's me giving back to the community I grew up around gaming in. And when I reached out to the diehard people I knew, they were like, oh, well, we'll see if this goes somewhere. And I'm like, what? Well, it doesn't if you don't support it up front, you jackwagon. People.
It's kind of like, I'm not going to eat dinner tonight because I'm going to see if there's going to be dinner tomorrow night. It's like, what? How does that affect you?
Yeah. The mentality, what is the mental gymnastics of that, sprains my brain. But anyway, again, thankful for everybody. Really excited. If you haven't got your ticket yet, by all means get it. And I'll tell you this, I'm going to warn you, and by now a lot of people know this, game signups open October 1st. Tickets are already available to come to the con. But we have this sort of confusion. What is there's tickets and badges. Isn't it? So yeah.
Badges get you in the door. Tickets get you a seat.
Thank you. So badge sales are already open. Get your badge if you haven't. Also, be prepared. October 1st at 9 o'clock is when tickets open. You don't pay for tickets. They're free, but it's first come, first serve. So, you want to have your badge in hand and be ready October 1st at 9 o'clock. I'm not saying all the best games are going to go fast, but yeah, they are, So don't get me wrong. Even if it wasn't the games that you ideally want, you'll still have a blast. It's a convention. They're con games with excellent game masters, and you should try some new things. But I'm just saying, if there's certain games you really got your eye on, don't dilly-dally, and let your friends know. And by the way, like our posts, please like and share them. That helps spread the word. And we've talked about this. We're never, ever going to be one of these big cons because we're just two guys, and
we don't want to be a big con anyway.
We talked about earlier we've went to the big cons. I don't see the appeal. The smaller cons like North Texas and us, it's that sweet spot. You've got a nice variety, but you know people. I know almost everybody that attends North Texas. I know people that attend our con. You go to some gigantic con, you don't know anybody. You don't know, well, who's the good guy for running Cthulhu? Who runs a good second edition D&D? I don't know. Who are these people at this table I'm gaming with? And it's a great way to go to cons to meet new people, but you don't have a chance to meet everybody at a 3,000, 5,000 person con. Not to shit on those cons. For the people that like that sort of thing, knock yourself out. But I like a more intimate affair. You know? Yeah.
I'd rather be gaming with my friends.
Exactly. And I love that every June I go to game with 500 of my closest gaming buddies, and gals, So anyway, we hope to capture some of that energy, if I'd say that we haven't already. But anyway, enough about that.
We long conned it.
Yeah, we did.
All right. How about books and comic books?
No reading.
Allowed?
Exactly.
I have been reading my usual comics. There has been a new kind of restart of the Hulk line.
Really?
So that one's pretty good. He's going back to his monster roots again. So I recommend it. I'm enjoying it. But I liked the Immortal Hulk, and I liked the run that was after that, where it was more like Starship Hulk.
Oh, wow.
Where Banner was inside of him, kind of had a virtual, like the helm, where he's driving the Hulk around. He's in Hulk mode all the time, but Banner's inside him controlling it, and he can actually like change the level of rage. He's like, I need to push this sucker up to, level 10.
Oh, wow.
Because this horrible thing's happening. And a lot of people weren't too big into that one, but I liked it. It was nowhere near as good as Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, you raved about Immortal
But this new one looks pretty good too. And yeah, I've just been reading some comics lately.
So what sets this new Hulk away from these other iterations?
He's more of a horror comic again, which Immortal Hulk was going into too, where it was kind of more Lovecraft almost.
Yeah, body horror or something from your descriptions. Or whatever.
So this one is another like Lovecraftian horror. Basically, he beat up Cthulhu the other day.
Oh, wow. Okay. So they're almost trying to maybe something kind of like an old... Do you remember the old Swamp Thing? Which originally it was just some poor scientist got turned into this horrible thing, but eventually it went on this weird occult path or something, And
so he just hooked up with Man-Thing the other day, which is the Marvel version of Swamp Thing. So
what is it? Any being that knows fear burns at the touch of the Man-Thing. Yeah, I remember that tagline. Yeah.
So that's been pretty good. And just in general, I look at these. I'll start reading a new comic, and I'll be like, "Who's the writer on this?" And it'll be Al Ewing that did Immortal Hulk. I'm like, that guy's got my freaking number. I just have loved so much of his stuff that he's done, because I've been reading the Venom stuff that he's been doing, but he's leaving that, so we'll see how that goes.
I wonder if he's back in the day. They had this guy back. This guy's the hot new talent. That comic's flagging. Let's get him in there for a quick run of about 8-12 episodes. Give it a shot in the arm, So I bet he's that guy now. He's the hot shot that he injects that
life into it.
Yeah, into that.
You'll follow him, and you'll be into this comic for a while.
That's how they get you. Yeah, well, he's writing over there. I got to check out that title. Oh, yeah, I remember that back in the day.
All right, how about some TV?
Gosh, well, like I said, I told y'all about we'd watch Strange New Worlds and burn through that, and then we were like, it's over, because now I miss the old days of like, a TV series had 20-something episodes or something. No, it's like 6 or 10 or something, and you're like, what the
That's
hell?
not a season.
Yeah, that's nothing, just the tease, But we really enjoyed
just
that.
the tip.
But yeah, Heather she loves her cooking shows and the very series there. But we try to find time to watch some stuff, but I can't think of anything we watched lately that just blew my socks off as far as a series, other than Strange New Worlds.
I just thought of one since we were sitting here. You got to double back. You gave me the old finger wiggle.
There you go.
Okay. I finally just finished the box of Curiosities or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Curios.
TV series, yeah.
The second half was better.
Good.
It wasn't great.
But it was better than some of those first ones.
Oh, yeah. So much better. But, I mean, still.
You would lead with your strengths, but whatever.
Who knows? But I did like the back half better. If it was just those 4 episodes, I might be like, yeah, go ahead and check it out. But it's not that great. There's still a lot of it that drags where you're like, man, if you'd made this a 30 to 40 minute show instead of an hour 10 show, you could have done so much better. And there's a reason why those shows are shorter a lot of times, like the Twilight Zones.
Yeah. Well, that's where Netflix, I think there's a problem. I think they get some hot director or whoever and throw money at them, and they go, well, dang, they gave us like $50 million. We got to give them, I guess, like at least 6 at 2 hours a piece. Something, remember, a la Stranger Things or whatever. And no, like we said, those episodes of Stranger Things, it could have been either 3 2-hour episodes, or it could have been 6 1-hour episodes, but not, what was it, 6 2-hour long. I mean, it was just a point
Yeah.
you're like, get on with it. I see where this is going. Quit dragging this out. But I think they were like, we got to fill 2 hours. Well, don't, or make it. But I wonder if Netflix is the one going, well, you are going to give us
fill the time.
You know, we can't just have some little short whatever. I wonder if they're the ones putting the pressure, and then you get this sort of stuff happening. You know. But anyway.
So it was pretty good. There was a couple of Lovecrafts in it.
Oh, okay.
So I think when I got into the back four there, the first one's like Pickett's Model.
Oh, wow.
Which is about an artist that's seeing all these Cthulhu, Lovecraftian images and painting it, and basically it's driving people insane.
Oh, wow.
So that one was really pretty cool. That one picked it back up. And then like Dreaming in the Witch House was kind of
hit or miss.
Yeah, there was one, I can't remember the exact name of it. It's like Cosmos 79 or something, the symbol 79. But it's supposed to take place in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
And it did make me think of the like old sci-fi horror shows that you'd see back in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
where it drags for a long time. Because you watch some of those older movies now and you're like, how did you get away with so much of that?
Yeah. I watched one of these suspense thrillers from like the 70s some years ago, a few years back, and I thought, wow, I guess we've gotten so used to like Michael Bay, we're like, you're going to be clutching the edge of the seat with your ass cheeks and you're not going to let up. And there's like a 5-minute lull and you're like, let me catch you. And then he's back in and you're like, holy crap, you know, well, but those slow burn, and I'm talking slow burn suspense thrillers of the 70s, you were like, wow, this was the shit in the 70s, you know. But I mean, some of these I got back and watched. I mean, they were hot shit in their time, but it's like,
but with our modern destroyed
sensibility,
attention spans and stuff,
yeah.
we're like, or it's just like, okay, that was dull back then, kind of like Doors and Corridors.
Yeah.
Some of the older ways of D&D, you were like, man, that was boring. So,
and at the time you thought it was hot shit, but you look back now and go, really? You know?
But that one actually went by faster than I thought in some places, where it was like, this one's, as the kids would say, it's a mood or it's a vibe.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm going to show you guys this mysterious object. But first, we're going to drink some Jack Daniels. And then we're going to smoke some marijuana. And then, and it's, I mean, 90% of the episode is probably them getting ready.
The build up.
In all the druggy ways. And then, the end is the end. And it's like, bam, there you go, the end. It's like, it'd have been nicer to have some more of the end and less of the build up, but okay.
Yeah. What's in the box? You know.
And let's see what else. Oh, so it's gonna this TV reviews are all kind of meh. So I give that overall a meh.
Wow.
If you're like me and you have to watch the whole thing, if you just go in and pick a couple of episodes, okay, maybe, but overall I'd say skip it.
Wow. Okay.
It's not like this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, but skip it.
Yeah, your recommendation is give it a pass.
The new season of Futurama on Hulu.
Oh my, you've watched? Because I remember you weren't that enthused when you heard that. You're like, they're bringing it back again. Because I mentioned that on the podcast, I think.
Well, they were bringing it back without the voice of Bender.
Yeah.
And finally they decided to give him some money. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say it's ended multiple times, and it's ended multiple times very well.
Yeah.
So let's bring it back again.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's been, I want to say like 15 years or something since the last one ended.
Well, you know, I mean, the series originally appeared in what, 2000, 2001, 1999? I mean, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So this is a 23-year-old, but they've, like you said, they've finished it elegantly how many times, but yet they keep bringing it back.
So it is freaking horrible.
Wow.
So I would say I'm a fan of Futurama. I do like it, but how many of the old writers came back? I have not done the research, but I'm going to assume 1 to 0.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what makes the difference when you're trying to bring your old show back.
Yeah, you love these characters, but what you don't think, really, so we talked about recently, I thought on here more than once about like The Walking Dead. Some seasons, like, I really love these characters, and then the next season's like, I hate that character, and that time they get rid of her because they go, the fan base on the internet are saying they hate your character. Well, what they need to realize, it's not the actor's fault or the director's fault, it's the writer's fault. They're all of a sudden putting stupid words and actions, and these actors have to act to it, and the director directs to it. It's bad writing. So in this case, yeah, we love Bender and Leela and all that and Fry, but they're having them saying stupid crap. It's not funny, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So, and Family Guy was a good example of that too. When they came back for their third season or whatever, it's like, yeah, they came back, but none of their writers really came back. They had already moved on because they've been canceled for a year or more or whatever. Mm-hmm. So unless you can bring back the writing team, and then sometimes even then you can't get back in that same writing space. It's like why your favorite band can't put out another great album. Yeah. They can't go back to being 20 years old and hungry.
Yeah. I had watched, The Simpsons a little bit back in the day because, it was a phenomenon when it first came out. But I drifted away for whatever reasons, but I always appreciated the show. Well, a while back, I had access to Hulu or something, and I decided that I was just going to finally get off my ass and watch them end to end. And I remember laughing until I almost cried, slapping the chair, and but then it's like as the seasons wound on, it was less and less and less until those last few seasons. I was just kind of being a completionist. I'd set out this Sisyphean task for myself, and no, it was awful. It was painful. Those last few seasons were just plain bad. And I'm like, you should have canceled this. You should have quit this about 5 years ago and went out on a high note. This is awful, But that's about the writers, Either the original writers, if they're still there, they're just not funny anymore, or it's probably some new writers that just aren't funny writers. They're not talented, But we should strike to make sure they get more money.
Somebody's got to write it.
Yep.
If you get into that AI thing or just any idiot. So,
I hear you.
Okay. And then I also watched Outer Range. That's a Amazon Prime with your boy, what is it, Josh Brolin?
Oh, yeah.
Thanos.
Yeah.
Snippety Snap.
No, Snippy Snap. Or he's also been, Cable in recent years?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, geez, he's on a ranch in, say, Montana. I think that's what it is.
Well, this is because all of a sudden the big popular of Yellowstone, right? All of a sudden there's another show.
Well, this is a sci-fi.
It's sci-fi, but still they're cowboys out in the West. You ever wonder if they were like, let's tap into some of that Yellowstone cowboy ranch popularity? I don't know.
Could be. So the little gimmick introduction to this is there's a big hole on his ranch that's just a portal to who knows what.
Okay.
And then they pretty early resolve what that is. Okay. And it's supposed to be all this mysterious, like, woo, what's going on? It's kind of like, well, this is what's going on. And then there's a mysterious character, and it's like, how does this mysterious character tie back into it? Because I don't want to give you spoilers.
Yeah.
I definitely say don't watch this show.
Oh, wow.
It stinks.
There you go. Okay.
So I don't want to give you the spoilers just in case, but there's this mysterious character, and you're like, who could this mysterious character be? And it's a lot. I'll go back to like Star Wars, where it's like, you have a sister, and it's like, Leia? And it's like, well, duh. There's only one female character.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, this mysterious character, what can be up with them? Obviously, I'm not, I am the guy that will guess the M. Night Shyamalans or whatever, but I'm not Sherlock Holmes. I'm like, this one's pretty blatant.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's the big secret? Because they reveal it in like the last 20 minutes of the last episode or something, where you're supposed to be like, bum, bum, bum. And it's like, that's the big surprise that you were holding on to?
You didn't see this coming, a mile away.
I knew that halfway through the first episode.
Wow, yeah.
So that one I had to push myself to complete to see if it got any better, and it didn't. And they're talking about a season 2.
Of course they are.
So nothing will be resolved at the end. It'll still be just as much of a mystery or as pointless as it ever was.
How many seasons of Lost were there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, just avoid this one before you even get on the train.
Yeah.
And that's I hate TV shows.
Okay. There's a lot of negativity there. I'm T. But
how about some movies?
A quick aside back to books real quick is today is George R.R. Martin's birthday. He is celebrating his 75th year on Earth and about his 20th year not writing a book.
It ain't coming.
It ain't coming. It ain't happening. And isn't that delightful to know?
I'm glad I jumped off that book series.
Yeah. I'm still peevish. But anyway. All right. So much about books. Happy birthday, George R.R.
You
Write
rotten
the damn
bastard.
books, you son of a bitch. Yeah.
How about a movie?
Yes. So I'll
Yes.
tell you a little story. So periodically, Heather and I'll be talking about something. And I go, well, you know, so and so. So she's like, I've never seen that. And I'm like, you've never seen that? You know, well, finally she got to pull that on me. We were talking about something, and it was like, I don't know how we got on the subject, but she was like, yeah, like Apollo 13. I went, I've never seen that. And she was like, almost like pulled the car over, like, you've never seen Apollo 13? I'm like, no. And she's like, that thing won Academy Awards. It was, you know, the actors in that were brilliant and all this stuff. So we watched the other day. It's a good movie. I really enjoyed it. It almost made me sad though watching Bill Paxton. And what a waste, what a loss. Love me some Bill Paxton. But it was interesting. And in fact, the show is so thought provoking, the movie, because these are real events that happen. I'm sure some of it's dramatized for a movie, but to my point that we went to Googling about, well, whatever happened to this person or that person, and what actually led up to this, because the reason I don't remember it, because I was an infant when this crap happened, but it's stuff that like the whole world hung by a thread waiting to see what happened. And like the Vatican had 50,000 people show up out in the big, what would you call the open area, and prayed beneath the window with the Pope for the astronauts. I mean, the whole world came together, pulling together for these astronauts, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, wow, would that happen nowadays? You know, you wonder. It's interesting. But anyway, everyone was glued to their TVs, you know. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Apollo 13. If you haven't seen it, and you probably have, well, you haven't either. Yeah, I would suggest watching it. It wasn't bad, you know.
All right, so here's the movie I watched, Brightburn. Brightburn. Have you even heard of that one?
As you can see by the complete look of just,
It's yet another evil Superman.
An evil Superman.
Yeah, kind of like Omni-Man and Homelander and all this.
Or what was the one that Will Smith played, you know, where he did,
Hitchcock?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Which I won't say it was an evil Superman, but not the, you know, super Boy Scout Superman, you know.
So this one is the Superman origin story meets The Omen.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of like, what if Superman came to Earth, and it's in Brightburn, Kansas, a small town in Kansas. So, I mean, it's very, very Superman-esque.
Smallville, Brightburn, yeah.
And he comes in the spaceship sort of thing, and the parents cover it up, and it's like, no, that's our kid. But what if, when he hit basically puberty, the switch went on in his head, and he's like, killed them all.
Oh, wow.
So, it was okay. Once again, poo-pooing on everything.
Yeah.
So I think it's got like the IMDb score of like 6. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty fair. I'm not like, I'm sorry I watched it, but me. It has some pretty gory kills in it too. If you're into that sort of thing, it does lean into some of the horror.
Some people love that crap.
But and they're talking about making a second one of those. So we'll see. I kind of wished and hoped it would have gone farther into the storyline, because it just goes, he's a kid.
And
you kind of get the couple of weeks of his life or whatever.
They really, shorten that up. Is this based on something, or is this?
Yeah, it's based on a true story.
No, I meant like a book or a comic or something. Like anymore, again, talking about nobody's has any original thoughts like these great writers. Is that it's like, oh, we option this from a comic book or a movie, this is a redoing of another movie or concept or idea. Is this something that's whole cloth idea?
I'd have to look at it, but it's an Elizabeth Banks production.
Interesting.
So, but I mean, there's so many of the evil Supermen now.
Evil
like Weebles.
Evil Knievel. Well, there you go.
So there's another meh. How about video games?
Video games.
You didn't have any time for that.
No, I've been
mobile
playing
games.
A little bit of old EverQuest.
I forgot you disappeared back down into that
dark hole. But it's funny was when I came to the server. You know, Tim's old friend. We've been good friends for 40 years, and what's a shame is we've not. I mean, I call him or text him periodically. Hey, how you doing? How are the kids? Whatever. How are your folks? Your brother? Whatever. We all grew up together. But we haven't really kept in really close contact or talked real frequently. Well, one of the upswings of this is we've actually talk, you know, on like Discord while we're playing or whatever. So it's been a good way to reconnect. Anyway, having said that, though, Tim is just an incredibly generous soul. And he geared my character up, then he geared up my next character, then he geared up my next character, you know, whatever my alts and stuff, as they call it in the MMO lingo. So finally at one point I thought, you know, it would be nice to just play as if you were just coming to the server and didn't know anybody. Like you wouldn't, the terms I think twinking, you know, whatever, like, here, let me hand you some gear that's beyond you. If nothing else, there's never really been any real threat of dying, because most of the time Tim's babysitting character is like, here's some high level crazy ass buffs your little low level character shouldn't even have. So really, like, most of my characters never even died once. And I remember in the old days, you died once a week or something in EverQuest, you know, trying to push the limits or get into some dungeon for some cool loot or whatever. So I said, why don't we make some characters, you know, and around the same time Tim had the same idea. So we made some new characters that are just brand new, and we're not going to put all this cool gear on them. We're not going to constantly have some babysitter. Like, we're going to use group dynamics and work off each other's abilities and skills. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, but again, Tim's been real generous with his time. This month is where there's creatures called Fabled, and they drop really cool loot. But anyway, we've been chasing some of those Fabled drops in the game. But yeah, it's called Wayfarer's Haven. It's old school EverQuest with a few expansions, some of the, you know, better ones. The guy's done a few little things to make the server unique, which I enjoy. And then tying into my friend Tim, he's got Dragon Slayer models and games. And again, he's a YouTube presence, and he's a brilliant painter. That's how he makes pretty much his living, is painting miniatures. You know, he's that good. But anyway, so yeah, that's me in video games.
All right. I think I talked about The Quarry last time, and I want to say I was still playing it. So that one's like a horror movie, which I don't want to give you too much spoilers, but something's going on, and these kids are out at camp. Something's happening. And that one was pretty good, but it's really short. So if you can get that as a rental or one of these PS specials or Xbox specials or something where it's free download.
You could beat it in a weekend is what I'm hearing, kind of thing.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 10 hours.
Oh, wow. So, yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
Except for sometimes you're going to
But depending on what you're paying.
Full price just to beat something. I can remember back in the day I bought some video game that I was like, oh, I was so excited to get it. And I had to save up, and I got it. And like beat it in a weekend, I was like, rah, you know, I mean, why did I spend back in the day $60, $70 on this or something, $50, you know? I was a little peeved. That was before a lot of this, oh, go wait till it's been out a little while and buy it used for a nickel at, you know, Games Ago or wherever. It was not that era.
All right. And then the newest feature, the TCGs.
Ooh. Yeah.
Got to talk about that.
Got to.
Because I think we said Lorcana is a-coming the last time.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've actually got to play it. It's pretty fun. It's kind of Magic and Dragon Ball Super mixed up a little bit together. So if you like those mechanics, you'll probably like this, and you don't have to put any money in Watsy's pocket.
Yeah.
And I know I was talking with our buddy Chris, and I think he said his daughter really liked Disney. So if you got people in the family that like Disney, then they'll have that cool artwork to look at. But the launch has been really horrible. The cards have been so hard to find.
Really?
Yeah. They did not meet the demand at all.
So it's Disney, obviously, characters and whatnot, but who's the actual company putting out the game?
Ravensburg.
I never heard of that.
They do puzzles, and they do some other games, like, for example, this Jaws board game that I'm pointing at over here that Matt can see, but we're not on video.
Yeah, Jaws board game.
So I pretty much know them as puzzle makers because Jen and her mom do so many puzzles. And then they do some of the, I'd say more like franchise branded games. So some of their games are good. Their puzzles are really high quality. But this is their first TCG.
But yet, for a first effort, it's pretty good.
But they didn't know how much to put out.
Yeah, so they didn't know how.
So they really got, and there's so much of a collector's market. So there's not as many cards out there.
Wait a minute, people might want to collect something with Disney focused. Exactly. So, but isn't there like an organized league of play or whatever?
Yeah, and they're going to have actual tournaments.
Oh wow!
Give you money tournaments.
Oh, ooh la la!
So we'll see how that all goes.
Nice.
But I was able to get a hold of a couple of boxes, and then from those boxes, I pulled a couple of cards that I was able to sell that paid for all of it and just a little bit more.
Dang.
So I was like, all right, right now with cards being so limited, Some of them are going for stupid prices. I sold one card for $255. Cash money.
Wow.
On the Barrelhead.
To
the internet.
Nice.
So.
Wow. Phenomenal. So that paid for itself.
Yeah. And then people are scalping the boxes and stuff themselves. Like I think the box is supposed to be $140, but it's like if you want a box online, you're going to pay $300.
Wow.
So luckily I got all my stuff at retail price, and then I was able to sell a few cards and make all that money back. So I'm like, hey, free game.
Yeah. And these cards that are so valuable, is it some game effect
Nope.
that's just, wow. It's just because it's Mickey or something, right?
The rarity.
Yeah, rarity, yeah.
There's enchanted cards. That's their highest rare card.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be probably, with the drop rates, 1 in 4 boxes.
And so we're talking about, this is more, it sounds like the collectors or completionists more than, it's not the guy who's like, this is the ultimate card. If I have 4 of these, I can win every game. It's not that kind of
Right.
thing.
The ultimate card is probably about $50-$60, that sort of thing. But it's still because they're not out there. So you have people that are like, I must build this uber deck.
Yeah.
Okay. There's not that many copies out of there, so it's going to cost
4.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want 4.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing I
Because
sold.
I'm sure they followed the same paradigm. I mean, because that was like Magic and a lot of the games. You can have more than 4 of a certain type in your deck.
So I sold 4 of the Uber Ooh La La card as a lot, and that was about $250.
Wow.
For 4 cards.
For 4 cards, yeah.
So $500, and I was like, well, I've paid off everything I've bought and then some.
Nice. That's awesome, dog.
Yep. So it's interesting. It's a pretty fun game, but we'll see how it goes.
Hopefully they're probably hustling, I'm sure, to get more of the cards.
They said we're going to have something come out in October, and now they're like, no, we're not.
Wow.
Yeah, so they've really been like, oh, the game stores are sold out, but in 2 weeks, the mass retail is going to have it. Nope. They didn't have that much. They got it, and it was gone. Because it was like, they're holding all these back to give it to Walmart, but you'll be able to go to Walmart and just buy as many as you want. Nope. Walmart would like get a box of cards, and you're like, okay.
Wow. Well, I'm happy for them that it's doing that well. I'm sure it's going to be.
But for people that want to play,
exactly,
how much is this hurting it? Like, I was excited a month or 2 ago, and now I'm not.
Cards out there, enthusiasm has waned. Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And now that we are 45 plus minutes in, what's the topic? Oh, actually, to drag this out even more, did you have any travel log stories you wanted to tell us?
Well, yeah, actually. So I just got back from a trip with dear sweet Heather, and we wanted to reconnect with some some family members and some old friends and whatnot. So we drove like the first day out of Texas through Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska. It was quite a drive. But we just wanted to get up to the mountain country, and because it's so beautiful. And but what's funny was driving through like Kansas. It's like, I know what their current crop must be, orange barrels, because from border to border it was nothing but just orange barrels the whole way. It was kind of aggravating. And then we got to Nebraska, and it was interesting. As we were getting to our hotel after dark, as we're driving down the road, Heather sort of leaned against the window or something, dozing. And about this time, I go, holy crap. She leans up. What? I said, some rat came charging up from the side of the road right under the wheels, and the headlights just were under. And I was like, holy shit. She's like, you're pulling my legs. I swear to God. Well, then she kind of leans up now, and she's looking, and we're talking about something. She's trying to keep me awake. And about 5 minutes later, I swear to God, here comes the rat charging out from the side of the road, right under, like into the headlights, under the wheel, And she's like, oh my God, there was another one. And I said, what in the hell? This is a fluke. Over the next 30 minutes, finally getting to the hotel, we had at least 2 or 3 more of these rats. I mean, we thought, what's going on?
Suicide rats.
So yeah, I was like, the squeaky rat gets the wheel. I mean, it just kept running up under the tires. And I was like, what's with Nebraska and these suicidal rats or something? But it was the weirdest thing. Anyway, but yeah. So the next day we went into South Dakota. We saw Mount Rushmore. And it, of course, the only time it rained the whole trip, in 10 states, 12 states, was the 5 minutes that, we pull up, it starts raining. We got an umbrella, luckily. Thank you, Heather. And we went and saw it, took a few pictures, went in the gift shop, left. As we're pulling away, rain lets up. Never had any rain the rest of the trip. The one time we really wanted to do, But anyway, Went to Montana to see an old friend in Billings. Then we traveled over through Idaho, and that little part of Idaho, little narrow northern part, yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous. Some of the prettiest terrain the whole trip in Idaho. You know, if you went down south, I'm sure it's just flat nothing. You know, got over into Washington State, and the first part we got into was just a bunch of farmland. It's kind of boring, but when you get over into the the trees and the mountains, oh, it's just gorgeous, breathtaking. Highway 20 in Washington State. It's only 2-lane, but we made good time. I'd say if you go through Washington, take Highway 20. Gorgeous. On the way back, we came back to Montana, through Idaho, etc. We went down through Wyoming, Colorado. In Wyoming, we stayed at a town called, it's Dubois, because I'm from Louisiana. It's Dubois. It's French. But everyone there, it's Dubois. It's Dubois. I'm like, okay. But then again, that's like Miami in Oklahoma. It's Miami. Don't you say Miami. It's the very same spelling. And there's one, I think in Missouri, it's Nevada. Very same spelling. It's Nevada. So it's like, okay. So anyway, so it's Dubois.
Arkansas and Arkansas.
Yeah. But Dubois was gorgeous. And it's just as we came out of Yellowstone, and the Grand Tetons. The grandest of Tetons. But after you come out of those, boom, there's like not too far from there's Dubois. Highly recommend. There's some cabins there. You're right on the river, and it's really nice sipping coffee in the morning right there by the babbling, waters there. It's really nice. People were very friendly. Got a good breakfast there. Anyway, back on the road into Colorado. We drove all the way to Colorado Springs. I don't want to shit on Colorado, but F Colorado.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, from the second we left Wyoming, which had been nothing but like, oh, there's a car. 50 minutes later, oh, there's a car. I mean, hauling ass, 85 miles per hour down 2-lane roads. Never anybody. Nothing. Just open, but pretty territory. Soon as we hit Colorado, until we got to Colorado Springs, it was nerve-wracking. People zooming around you, running up on you, stopping suddenly, just boxed in, and it was just hellish driving just all the way till, I was like, I think I aged 5 years in that drive.
Wow.
I hated it. It was awful. And I'm chill, it's like an old nurse. If you get excited and upset, the patient gets excited and it's a loop, Internally, you're going F, 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 as the patient's trying to die. But calm to me. I'm very calm. But when we pull up to Colorado Springs, the other said, that was some nerve-wracking bullshit. And I said, yeah, it was. I'm going to need to unwind. Like, I didn't drink much on the trip. I'm having a whole bottle of wine.
So who was driving for that part?
Oh, me, of course. And Heather drove, and I'll give her due. She did drive quite a bit. But definitely would it be like if we're fixing to go into something like this kind of bullshit, or it was getting nighttime, she's like, time for you to take over. And I'm fine with that. But she was best travel companion. We had so much fun. Great experience. We were going to go see some family friends in West Texas, and we wanted to go see Kelly and them. But I think it was bad timing for Kelly, and I didn't want to be in position. And
what?
Yeah, hush. And one of my cousins was like, I think I've got COVID. And I was like, Heather's like, you want to go home? And went, hell yeah. And so she had said, no more of these 10, 12-hour driving days. But bullshit. We drove. She's like, we'll have one more of those days if it gets me home, But there's nothing like being back at home in your own bed. But, we went and saw Carhenge. All these pictures are on Facebook, by the way. It's beautiful. While we were in Washington State, we climbed Mount Baker. I climbed Mount Baker. Never panted, wheezed, gasped, or died,
So is it like notoriously flat or something?
No, it was quite a climb, but beautiful. Some of the pictures of Mount Baker you see with my little, what would you call my cousin's children, second cousins or something, his daughters. There's pictures of us with them there, and the kids were like, and I'm like, yeah, I might be old, but
I was wondering where you kidnapped those kids from.
Yeah, they're little sweethearts, cute kids, but my nephew's a Navy pilot. In fact, I was telling Eddie, his jet is one of the jets they used in Maverick, the movie. So they just covered up his call sign, whatever, which anyway. But yeah, so that's kind of neat. But we had a great time with the trip there. Glad to be home.
And this will be your last podcast as a single guy, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm getting married soon. So it was kind of like a weird honeymoon before the wedding kind of thing,
That was the honeymoon?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I thought that was the test that Heather was putting you through to see if you were compatible.
Well, both, essentially, yeah. But anyway. Yeah.
the pre-honeymoon.
Exactly. Magical.
Okay, for our topic today, do you like dragons?
I love dragons. Do you like dragons?
Me too. All right, thank you, folks. We appreciate you listening. No. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I mean, do we have time? But we'll be brief. So we've talked about this, I think, before. We touched on like the rule of cool and having fun with gaming. I've seen people sometimes that like make gaming a ritual, or how do I put it? Or they're just like, well, you know, I got to do my due diligence and show up or something. I mean, like I've told people when I was like, I'm bowing out.
A responsibility, a chore.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm bowing out of this one campaign. They'd be like, what? And I'm going, well, I'm not having fun. And
It just means I don't want to be your friend anymore.
And it's like sometimes, well, there's one off night. I'm going to quit because of one off night or something. But if you keep going and realize I'm not really having fun. I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with people shouldn't be butthurt. I say all that to say this. We play these games for entertainment and amusement. You know? So we try to make it fun. But then again, I think we've talked about this before too. What's fun for one person
might not be fun for some.
Exactly.
It's a world of...
So ultimately, as game master, you kind of try to walk a line, or maybe you don't. But then, you know, trying to make it fun. So what would be some things that would make play fun or make it not fun?
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, for instance, I like riddles. Some people might not like riddles. It'd be one of those things where you might try that one time adventure, and if you see everyone starts playing with their phone or looking away or whatever, this group doesn't want to enjoy riddles. You might love them. Players might not. Things like that. I remember back in the Living Greyhawk days, they would sprinkle in mystery adventures, and there were a lot of people that did not engage with that. They didn't. And so some people love that. People were like, oh my gosh, I get to engage my brain. Oh, it's a mystery and there's clues and stuff. And some people are going to check out. And if the majority of players, and that's where you have to decide, do I want to do this again? How often do I want to do it? I will say before this last CNC campaign I ran at home, I was going to run home. I had ran it past them. I said, what do you guys feel about mystery adventure, stuff like that? Not one. I don't, if I'm forgetting, I apologize, but I don't remember really much of any kind of feedback. And I went, well, all righty then. So if I run a mystery adventure, y'all all go, what is this bullshit? I'm going to be like, well, I gave you a chance to give me feedback, you know. That
kind of goes back to our 70s movie conversations, though. Yeah. It's like, well, you know, back in the day, I would tolerate that, or I had the patience for it. Now it's just like, it's Friday night, let me kill some monsters.
Yeah, there you go. And sometimes people are just like, I want to show up, eat snacks, kibitz and laugh at some silly jokes, kill some monsters, take their loot, watch my character level, rinse, repeat. It's really more about sort of a strange, sort of a social club kind of thing. And for those people that's, and I've always said, I try to judge, what do you get out of gaming? One person gets X, one person gets Y, one person gets Z. Each one of those are valid reasons to play these games. I used to be like, well, if you don't play it for X, then get out of here, you know.
Now it's just get away from my table.
Exactly. Player spells counterspelled. Now, see, that's the kind of thing where, like, is that fun? It's like, do you feel like you've lost player agency?
It's probably fun once, but it's not fun 5 times in a row.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if the players can never get their damn spell off, or you're constantly make sure they're counterspell when they're going to do that cool spell to save the day, that's not fun. I mean, but at the same time, the Jim, you go, well, it's a damn thing in the game. And he certainly didn't have any problem counterspelling my guys' spells or whatever. Well, it's like,
what is it in Savage Worlds where you can blow your little bennies or whatever? For like the big boss. If the big boss can do that 5 times in a row or something, then it's like, ugh.
Yeah. And that's where you have to walk that line. When I was running, you know, I like for the big boss, and someone was going to get that lucky one shot, which can happen in Savage Worlds. I'd go, no, I'm going to spend a few minutes trying to knock a couple of those wounds off to keep them in the fight, keep the fight going. But one of the things, what was aggravating when you're fighting a scrub, you're like, woohoo, I got the ultimate hit. I'm going to smoke that, you know, lower tier monster. Oh, yeah, I'm a sexy dog. And about that time, Jim, the game master goes, oh, I'll spend some, you know, my monster bennies to neuter that. That's not cool, and that's not fun. And that you're going to see players get perturbed about that.
And really, you can put it back to the old traditional, like, if you have your monsters run around the fighters to get to the wizard, are you the dick?
Yeah. And I've had casters
if you use player tactics on players,
yeah, they get butthurt. I remember I've had a few times where smart monsters, and I've tried to be that guy that I think this is just an animal. It's not going to run past everybody to get to the wizard, or you know, the dumb monsters. But the clever like the Rakshasa or whatever, yeah, he's going to run past everybody to attack the wizard. But you better believe, or cleric, those guys are going to go, man, why'd you have him attack me? Well, it's the same tactics you guys use, and this is a smart monster. Brr. So there you go. Players aren't going to find that fun, but that's one of those times where I have to go, this is me personally, and your mileage may vary, but don't be a little butthurt boo-boo baby.
And it goes back to not putting the players out, whereas they would certainly do that on the monsters if they needed to. Like, oh, that one's down. I'm going over here and stabbing him 5 times, where it's like, you knocked the wizard down. Now what do? Do you take that final shot and just kill him outright? Yeah. No. Of course I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And so I love the one time that we were playing a game and our cleric wasn't as quite as diligent with healing as he should have been, and a player went down. He thought, no problem. I'll wait till he hits the dirt. This is D&D, and you get 3 saves. Second hit the dirt, the game master goes, the monster runs over, rips the heart out, and starts eating it. And the guy was just like, mouth hanging open, like, what? And it's like, yeah, this is why you don't wait till people hit the damn dirt. And I'm glad the game master did that. But the player at the table, I noticed we didn't see him again for a while, so it might have kind of put him out, and I felt bad for that guy. But in the end, at the end of the day, who should get the stank on that? The cleric, Railroad play, and that's where the story's on a rail. Players could do something really off, just something crazy, pull some cool, as players will do. They'll throw a wrench in your works, they'll come up with some crazy plan, and you're like, damn it, that's brilliant. Well, try to be adaptive. And I know for new game masters, or even some older ones, sometimes you go, oh, bullshit, I had a cool story and this whole thing, and no, I'm not going to have that. Don't be that person. Try to go outside your comfort zone. Try to improv if you have to. And if the players go, well, what is this? You can go, well, you're the ones that pulled some shit out of your ass, But railroad play will aggravate players. I remember Eddie and Claire and whoever would kind of playfully chide me about when we first were gaming together. We were on an adventure that was a published adventure. It was on rails. A couple of times they're like, hey, can we diverge into a subplot or something? I mean, like, no, sorry, but this is a published adventure. I'm working a full-time job. I'm in nursing school. Sorry, no. This was on
the published
rails.
Materials didn't do anything to hide that fact. It was just like, woo, woo.
It was very railroady, and that's not as much fun for the players. We showed up again there more for the camaraderie and watching our characters advance. The story was not epic, and it's not what brought us back week after week. And it was, so then if you can, I get sometimes you're like, dude, I got a busy life. Okay, your mileage may vary, but understand players are not going to be real enthused with railroady, concrete play. And on top of that would be the thing where, let's say they interact with the NPC, and it's almost like a video game, like, all right, here are your 3 choices, pick which one you click on. But the players might, though, we decide to attack the king. Like, well, you're not supposed to do that. Well, we're players, what we're going to do. And you're like, well, shit.
And now you die.
Yeah. A lot of times the players don't have, like maybe they say something, but their choices have no meaning. It's like the story's going to go the way you intended. Didn't matter what they say there. Well, that sucks. I mean, that's not going to be fun again for the players. You know what I mean? Yeah, again, it's encounters where PC decisions have no bearing. I'm guilty of this. I've been game mastering since I was a kid. One time I had a capture scenario where no matter what the players did, they're getting captured, because I wanted to have this little brief 1 or 2 episode interlude where they were captured. Mm-hmm. Well, the players absolutely despise that. But again, is that about, that's a jerk thing to do as a game master, or is it players being boo-boo babies, whatever? But ultimately, maybe have that in mind. But if the players pull it out with some amazing dice rolls or some clever play, let them not get captured or whatever. And then you're going to have to adapt or go, well, cliffhanger, or we'll come back here next week. The rest of this stuff I wrote was all about you guys being captured. So, oops, whatever. I remember we got captured when we were playing the jungle.
And you loved it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And another thing, and that's one of those things where this one's an interesting area. Some people will have like an NPC in the party. Don't ever purposely let the NPC showboat or kill the big bad or something like that.
Huh?
No player likes being one-upped by the NPC. That being said, there's times where it just so happened 1 or 2 times when we were doing DCC where some effect happened that just wiped out the whole party, and the only guy left standing was the NPC. And by consequence of that, he was able to like slap some people and wake them up before the bulldozer ran over him or whatever. and that became a beloved NPC. So, I mean, you can see where there are exceptions, but as far as that wasn't a planned thing, and the party was damn glad that the NPC passed the save. If they hadn't, it'd have been a TPK. So no one really complained about it then, but there's nothing worse than some time where like if the players are winning the fight, maybe I've had people go, hey, you forgot to have the NPC attack for the last 3-4 rounds. And I just smile. No, I didn't forget to have him attack. You're doing fine with the fight. I don't want him to steal your thunder. If it was an encounter where, oh, shit, you're getting your ass kicked, I'm going to remember to have the NPC attack every round. You need the help. You see what I'm saying there? What would you add anything to that?
Nah, just like you said, not letting the NPC get the last hit sort of thing. Yeah. Like, well, if the NPC gets into it right now, it's going to be anticlimactic because they've done this. So fudge it a little bit. Maybe it's like, okay, they've got a little less hit points, or they've got a little more hit points, so they can get hit a couple of times next time and die to a player.
Exactly. It's like, oh, the NPC did all but one hit point. Wink, wink. I ran a campaign one time where I wanted it to be like one of these Michael Bay movies where, like, it never lets up, full throttle, yeah, whatever. But it was a campaign. And this is a time when they'd introduce rules in whatever game system we were playing where Gary could play. He loved playing Wizards. Like, he was going to get to craft magical items and research spells. Well, if you're in a campaign where, like, the big bad's just stops. One step ahead of us and we've got to catch up and we've got to save the world, he was kind of aggravated because he never got a chance to take a break, where by game dynamic he could craft magic items or research new spells. That was really frustrating for him. So, yeah, the idea, but so maybe there's got to be a point where you try to have a way to make it make sense where there could be that pause. And there's even dungeons where, like, no, you can't rest in here. At no point can you rest. Things will teleport in and poke you while you're trying to sleep. You can't rest. Now I've seen players go, we want to rest every 5 minutes. No. But by the same token, like, they can never rest, And I'll say people have chided me about in my post-apoc, sometimes I'll have little silly elements. But if you're really thinking about it, post-apocalypse can be pretty dark. I mean, by tone, those campaigns, if you're really leaning into the post-apocalyptic thing, it's pretty dark. So it's good to have something to make the kind of leaven that. Like, do you want a dark tone all the time?
Which is like running horror games too. It's like there's got to be a little light so that there can be a shock down the road.
Exactly. And we talked this before, I'm sure, and everybody knows, but I'll still say it. I'm so glad that nowadays, like, you get a save against most spells every round. Back in the old day, if a monster
save or suck
said whole person and you failed, you're held for a number. How many levels does that evil no priest have? 8. Yeah, you're going to stand there for 8 rounds.
For the combat.
Yeah, the whole combat. That's not fun for anybody. But even that being said, we've seen a scenario one time when we were playing with this guy during that same campaign that was on rails where he failed round after round after round. At a certain point, after about 3 or 4 rounds, I should have said, just quit rolling. You come out of it and let him in. But at the time, you learn things as we go, as you grow as a game master. And maybe this guy was on my nerves, But in all truth, I should have said after about 3 or 4 rounds, okay, quit rolling. Your dice are just cold and hate you right now. Because, again, was that fun for him? Absolutely. And not, So, that's something to consider. What would be some other, anything else you would add to that or could think of?
No, just as I'll always say, is keep the GM's fun in mind too as a player.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If everyone at the table has fun, that should include the game master. And leaning to the rule of cool. The one thing I loved about I recently ran a fully improv adventure, and a lot of times it's like, what's going to happen next? Well, what would be cool? What would be neat? What would be fun for the players? And one aside, I know I don't want this to go too long, but it's kind of like the famous meme you've seen if you're on the various gaming forums where the guys walk in, they're like, there's a dark figure in the corner, a crown of, glowing embers above his head. He's shrouded in darkness, and he's in the corner, and then they'll go, who else is there?
Goblin.
There's a goblin in the corner, and they're like, what's his name? Schmorkel. And we're like, we all go over and talk to Schmorkel the goblin. And you're like, are you kidding me? Well, at one point on a goof, I introduced there was a goblin in a crate. The guys fell in love with the goblin. When the goblin died, they were like, we're going to give him a full ceremony and say words. They had henchmen with them. When he died, they were like, yeah, we just kick a little dirt on him and go on. So even at this late in our role playing years in the game, it's still that same thing where, I even love a line I'll quote from Kirby. He said, every part of me says I should not trust this goblin, but there's no way I can not let this goblin in the group, or something to that effect. It was hilarious.
Or if there's a baby monster, it's going to be the party mascot now, and
exactly.
it's going to be fed and pampered.
And given some cute name or whatever. And if something ever happens to it, everyone in the party's going to be holding each other while they cry. Absolutely. But anyway. Yeah. See any clocks lately?
Nope.
Okay.
I see the miles roll by on Matt's trip, and I can tell we're all out of hit points.
Bruh.